Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today we've got a special video and we're going to be talking about the Lumineth Realm Lords article that the Games Workshop put up entitled How Do They Play? And so with this article we got a really good look at some of the Lumineth Realm Lords rules, and we're pretty much going to try and break down and talk a little bit about all of them that we see in this article, and sort of use our knowledge of other things we've seen to put this into a little bit more context than what it's put into in this article basic. So you can start off. First of all, let's just note that this piece of artwork here at the top, this banner piece of artwork, is absolutely stunning. I'm a big fan of all the cow themed stuff with the Lumineth Realm Lords, and this hammer wielding cow helmed elf just looks awesome. It's a really, really great picture. And so we start off by going, the Lumineth Realm Lords are coming and Warhammer Age of Sigmar will never be the same again. This weekend the new army set will go on pre-order, giving you the chance to secure some incredible models and the new rules. So we obviously know we're getting the quote-unquote starter set, which is going to have 10 of the Vanara Rule Wardens, 5 of the Vanara Dawn Riders, and Eltharion. So we know that's what we're getting, and so I've got a whole video going over Eltharion, so we won't go on about him too much here. You can find that on the channel, sort of breaking down and talking about the Eltharion abilities we got shown. But to start with, how do they play? So Lumineth Realm Lords are a versatile army with a number of rewarding playstyles available. We can't wait to show you what combos and lists you can come up with. And they don't really do too much of that in the article, but we're going to have a sort of think about this. And so they tell us here that they really want the army to sort of be, I guess, counter-punchy. They want it to take the charge and sort of set itself up to enable it to receive the charge and count and play a counter-offensive game. So this first rule that we get a look here is called Aether Quartz Reserve. So every Lumineth Realm Lord carries with them a tiny reserve of Aether Quartz that they keep in a gem-like container. In Extremis, the Realm Lord can break the vessel's seal, allowing them to temporarily increase their physical and arcane prowess, albeit at a heavy emotional cost. That's some cool sort of things. So we know this from like the narrative, how they use Aether Quartz to sort of enhance their learning and all that sort of stuff, but they become somewhat distant from others and the realm and life itself as they further delve down this path. And so the rule is each unit of Lumineth Realm Lords army starts the battle with 1 Aether Quartz Reserve. Once per phase you can say that one unit will use its Aether Quartz Reserve to use one of the following Aether Quartz Reserve abilities. However, if you do so, subtract 1 from that unit's bravery characteristic for the rest of the battle. So this is pretty cool. Whole bunch of like once per battle abilities. So Aether Quartz Reserves lets you trigger once per unit, once per phase abilities with powerful effects. Heightened Sentence, for instance, is great for ensuring a key combat goes in your favor, and this one is you can say this unit will use this ability if it's picked to shoot a fight, and you can add 1 to hit rolls made by that unit. This is really cool because it's adding 1 to hit. I'm always a big fan of adding to hit in the game. It's a much faster mechanic than reroll, so definitely good, but always +1 to hit. I mean, we're looking at elves. It's very likely a lot of our stuff is going to be 3s to hit. So this could potentially drop us down to 2s to hit, or potentially if we have some 4s to hit, or maybe the bigger monsters, maybe this can help get them down. We then look again at lightning reactions. We've already seen this rule. This is where you can pick during the combat phase, you pick 2 of your eligible units instead of 1. This is actually really cool. Now that they're sort of telling us how they want the army to play as this sort of counter-offensive army, we start to see that maybe this is like great because your opponent charges you, they pick 1 of their units to fight with, and then you pick 2. It really sort of thematically makes sense as like the unit charges in, and then all of a sudden the spears and the hero with the spears, or the unit that's also drawn into combat, they both fight, and charges don't necessarily go off that great against you. We then start looking, and we start to take a deeper look into the 2 different aspects that we've got of the Lumineth so far. So we've got the Vanara, and later we'll also look at, I forget the name, let's just go down. Alarith. That's right. Vanara and Alarith. So Vanara are all your sort of basic sort of troopers. The very high elf-esque looking guys, the spearmen, the archers, and the cavalry. And the other dudes, I forgot the name again, the Alarith, sorry, are all the fighting sort of bull-themed guys, the big giant mountain battle cattles, and the hammer-wielding dudes. So we then go looking into this, and this is sort of the Vanara Rule, which is a Shining Company. So there's a lot to digest with this. And so after a Vanara unit is set up, if the base of each model in the unit is touching the bases of 2 or more other models, very important there, other models, the unit becomes a Shining Company. So the unit remains a Shining Company until after finishing a move, the base of each model in the unit is no longer touching the base of 2 or more other models from the same unit. And so you can't gain this back in any way. We'll get into that in a sec, but you subtract 1 from hit rolls from attacks that target a Shining Company. However, they cannot run or charge, and models in that unit only move 1 inch when they pile in. So let's unpack this a little. So the first thing is, like, this gives us some great defensive abilities, and effectively it's telling us to use our Vanara units very defensively. This does mean certain units might not seem, and there's some certain weird formations that you may need to do to get the most out of certain units. For the archers, I'm going to say, like, this will never matter. Like, you're always going to be in Shining Company formation. You're never going to, unless you're taking too much damage, ever be drawn out of it. And yeah, it's just a good way to do this. So there are certain ways in which you need to take models apart, and maybe I'll do a whole video talking about how to build Shining Companies and how to play with Shining Companies. But for ones like your cavalry units of 5 cavalry, what you effectively need to do is make a dog paw with 4 dudes at the front and 1 on his side behind them, touching all the bases, so that everyone gets 2 bases. Now the important thing with this too is it says after unit is set up. So what this means is, going by all the FAQs, is every time we set up. So you can't move back into this formation, you don't get that. But things like bridge or launch on the Soulseeker or other forms of teleportation where the unit comes back and sets up means we can get Shining Companies back. So you can use bridge, get your units into place, and then place your Shining Companies down. I strongly recommend, if anyone's going to play this, there's some movement trays. I know there was some movement tray STL files, and I should be getting some movement trays for my own army soon, and I'll post links and all that to movement tray companies. I'll do a whole review of a whole bunch of different ones, because they're going to be very important for just helping maintain this within the army. But it's a really cool ability, and it gives some good defensive benefits to units that they are wanting us to play defensive with, or till you break formation. Now note here also, just last thing, it says you cannot run and charge when you're in Shining Formation. So you can't run or charge while you're doing the Shining Formation. However, you can always just choose to break your Shining Formation and lose it. So things like, if you really need to get all those models piling into attacks, so if you've taken the charge, not taken the damage, and then want to put all the attacks back on your opponent, you can, if you're going second, choose to break your Shining Formation. So this is really cool, because if something always strikes first, you're going to have that chance to receive the hit, be -1 to hit, and then break your Shining Formation and put all your attacks into your enemy. This is really cool, because it sort of does help counter that always strikes first activation war stuff, in that, yeah, you can, the always strikes first has to go before you. They're going to be -1 to hit because you're in Shining Company, and then you break it and get all your attacks in, especially since you're a 3-inch range with those pikes. And then then we start looking at the Alarith, and like I said, they are the hammer-wielding dudes here, and the big giant battle cattles. I will say, like, looking at that picture there, the stone guard just look fantastic there. They've got so much dynamism to those models. I especially like this dude here in the center. He's really great. Just lining up and smash with that hammer. And so we've got some Alarith special rules as well. So effectively we've got like two aspects of the Lumineth here. And the Alarith rules are after the armies have been set up but before the first battle round begins. At the start of all your hero phases, you can pick any number of friendly Alarith units and say that they are adopting the mountain stance. If you do so until your next hero phase, the weapon used for an attack that targets an Alarith unit in the mountain stance has a rend characteristic of -1. Change the rend characteristic to dash. Now we know, in addition, from the battle report that got leaked in White Dwarf, that there's also a particular sub-faction that makes this -2 going to 0, which is amazing. Now this is really cool, and what this says to me too, because you're having to choose this at the start of any of your hero phases, the fact you're having to choose this makes it sound like there's going to be more stances for your Alarith units. So maybe there's going to be some offensive stances or some other varying stances, which would be really cool. They're effectively going to fight like, I don't know, for anyone who knows old Warhammer Fantasy, the War Dances of old, how you got to pick all the different dances and stuff like that. That's what this is sounding like to me. And then you can go, as the game progresses, Alarith units allow you to mess with enemies like nothing else in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Now this one is extremely interesting because this is the one where you get to push back enemy units. So at the end of each combat phase, you can pick one enemy unit, and note it says can, so you don't have to do this. This was very important. Within 1 inch of each friendly Alarith unit, you cannot pick the same enemy units more than once. After you pick a unit, your opponent must move all models in that unit. Must move that unit 2 inch, and that unit must finish its move more than 1 inch from any Alarith units. So it has to move the unit at least 2, so that only means that one model in the unit has to move. It's not every model as it currently stands, how it's written. However, everything does have to be an inch away from you if possible to do so. So at least having to move an inch. And then once enemy units have been forced to move, any friendly Alarith units that are within 3 inch of enemy units can make a 1 inch pilot inch move. Now, the reason why I pointed out that this says can at the start is because you're not going to want to do this to all units all the time. There will be units that are just larger and will use this movement smartly to envelop you, in fact, and actually make your position much worse, or potentially even drag other units into combat because of this rule. Now, there are ways to sort of stop them spreading out, because it does here say, and that unit must finish a move more than 1 inch from any Alarith units in your army. So it means that if you place your Alarith units together in bunches, they can't actually move into and draw in other Alarith units. They can only draw in things like Vanara, which is interesting to look at. But yeah, you're not always going to want to use this, and it's going to be very interesting to see when you want to use it as well, because you need to make sure you've got your charges and maybe some Alarith units. Like, you can do an encirclement, which means your opponent has to move certain directions by placing your Alarith units in certain places. There's going to be a lot of like deep thought into how you use the abilities in this army in general, I really do think. But that's a really cool ability, and there's so much more to that than what is written there. Like, that is just massive. Moving your opponent's units is always massive, and is always something that is an interesting mechanic. But yeah, I really look forward to just getting that on the table and sort of playing around with it and learning a lot more about that ability, because there's a lot to it. And then we get a look at sub-factions. So they don't actually talk about the sub-faction here that gives us the -2 rend becoming nothing. So we get 2 other different types of rend coming out. This one, the first getting, this is going to be called the Sia, or Sia, however you pronounce it. And so this one looks great just straight up the bat, because you're going to get 2 Aether Quartz reserves instead of 1. That just seems good. You're getting more resource. And then you've got a command ability, which is you can use the command ability when a friendly CR unit could use an Aether Quartz reserve ability, even if friendly CR units have already done so that turn. So it allows you to double down on using your Aether Quartz, which is cool. So this is all about getting your resource and getting more out of your resource that you have with the Aether Quartz, which is cool. And then we've got the Elitha. So after friendly Elitha units uses a command ability, you can pick one of a friendly Elitha Vanara unit within 3 inches of that unit. If you do so, that other unit can also use that command point without spending any command points. You can only use this ability once per phase. Now, there's an interesting thing, because we don't know what are Vanara units yet. So the way this is looking, I think the unit sergeants are actually going to be able to use command points in this army, just by how it's saying here that it can another unit. And with the only Vanara units we've actually been confirmed as Vanara are the 3 different troop choices. So I reckon that troops are going to be able to use command abilities in this army, and that's what this is all talking about here. And this is really going to push you down that Vanara route. So for those people who want to play an army that they only want to use the models that look like old Hyles, I guess, this is going to be the faction, or sub-faction I should say, for you guys to use. You can use this command ability in your shooting phase. If you do so, pick one friendly and lift fire Vanara unit with 2 or more models. You can reroll hit rolls of 1 for that unit. That obviously will get an FAQ to say until the end of whenever. But what's really cool about that in general is you can use it in the shooting or combat phase whenever. I mean, at current, it never ends in current ruling, but that's going to get an FAQ. We know it is. However, I don't think this first part is going to get FAQ, and how that it's allowing you to, you can actually roll your dice and then use the command point with this ability. So you can roll your dice. Oh dear, I've rolled a lot of 1s on that roll, and re-roll those 1s. So this could be really cool. Now note this only affects Vanara units as well, so once again this is just pushing down that Vanara route. And the last sort of thing it talks about, also great shot of the army, and those ogres there look cool as well. I think that's a great sort of shot of the army there, just while your cavalry at the back. So one more thing too, your baseline units are wizards, and this sort of adds to my thought that we're going to have like characters leading units very similar to the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. You see, as students attack lists, the warriors of the Lumineth Realm Lords are keenly attuned to magic, so all Vanara units, in case you've not been keeping up, that's the pikemen, horsemen and bowmen, can cast magic. Each can unbind spells or use the power of Haish, a spell that boosts their excellent sun metal weapons and makes them frankly terrifying against armoured foes. And so, lastly, we're getting a look at sun metal weapons and the power of Haish spell. So first of all, this sort of seems very similar to the Karak Acolytes, how they can only sort of cast one particular spell, and it sort of buffs them, but every unit can use it. And so sun metal weapons, if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a warden's pike is a 6, that attack inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target and the attack sequence ends. Power of Haish, so successfully cast, the sun metal weapons ability for the caster and or the unit they are part of causes mortal wounds to be inflicted on an unmodified hit roll of a 5 instead of 6. Any number of Lumineth Realm Lords wizards can attempt to cast this power of Haish in the same hero phase. So the last bit here almost confirms my theory that we're going to have heroes within units, and that the unit champions are effectively heroes in their own rights, and they are the wizard, not the unit necessarily, because it's saying, it's just, it really is like sort of pushing towards like it's that single dude in the unit that's a hero, I guess. And that's pretty much all we've got. So we just scratched the surface. Just wait for your factor in a vast suite of artifacts, unusual and powerful war scrolls, allies, choices, and more. And yeah, so hopefully we're going to get some more information soon on all this. But I'd really like to know everyone's thoughts on this, because I'm really keen, like, to seeing some really cool rules coming out. This one here, Sia, seems like a really good one to me, just right off the bat. Getting more of your resource just seems good. But let me know what you think of all the rules you've seen so far. For me, they seem good, and there's nothing wrong with being good. Like, armies should be good, but they don't seem oppressive. They don't seem broken in any way. They just seem like just good. Obviously, except like a few abilities where I think we've caught a few things that haven't been caught in the initial like playtesting, or just written a little bit poorly, but they can all get fixed. Anyway, let me know what you guys all think of the Lumineth Realm Lord rules, and we'll have a chat about how it all goes and seeing what we can bring to the table with the Lumineth Realm Lords. I can't wait for pre-order tomorrow. I hope you guys can't all wait as well, and we'll chat very soon again. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, down on the links below, there'll be a link to our Discord where I'm always chatting Lumineth Realm Lords or something Warhammer. You can come and join that. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've got any thoughts or ideas on the video you've just seen, please leave them down in the comments down below, and also don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you to everyone who supports the channel. Your support is so much appreciated, and I hope we can keep on providing some sort of content for you guys to keep enjoying. If you have any thoughts or ideas, please leave them down in the comments below. We'd love to hear them. Also, special thank you to all the patrons who are supporting the channel and helping it grow and grow and grow. Special thank you go to our Sinful Guard Militia, Christian Weir, Philip Ward and Dwight Crow. Also, Sinful Free Good Regiment member, James. You can help support the channel on Patreon. It'll be down in the description down below. You can also join our Discord server and come along and chat in the Discord with me and other members of our cool little community. Thank you everyone for watching. Have a nice day. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey.